the internet is more than just a place to chat with friends or buy things online. In our digital age, what we say online has become a core part of our social, political, and cultural lives. In China, the internet isn't just a platform. It's a critical space for governance and regulation. As more and more people join the online world, the Chinese government has built an extensive framework to manage online speech. Officially, their main goal is to maintain social stability and political order. They argue these rules are necessary to stop misinformation and protect national security. But this raises a huge question. Where is the line drawn? While keeping order sounds reasonable, many people are concerned about how these restrictions are actually defined and enforced. This has created a constant tension between government regulation and the protection of free expression. Scholars worldwide are asking if these laws are clear enough to truly protect individual rights. This documentary will explore the problem of legal ambiguity, which simply means laws that are unclear, and how this uncertainty impacts human rights in China's digital sphere. China's system for controlling online speech is like a multi-story building. At the foundation, we have national laws like the cybersecurity law. This law sets broad rules about state security and makes internet companies responsible for the content on their platforms. On the next level, administrative bodies like the Cyberspace Administration of China, or CASH, provide more specific instructions. They list what kind of information is prohibited or harmful. Finally, on the top floor, private companies, the social media platforms we use every day, take these government rules and turn them into their own community guidelines. This means your speech isn't just monitored by the law, but also by automated filters and company staff. While this layered system is very flexible, it also creates a massive risk. Because there are so many layers, the rules can become incredibly inconsistent and confusing. The single biggest problem with this system is that the legal boundaries are incredibly blurry. Many regulations use terms that are not clearly defined. For example, they talk about harmful information, disrupting social order, or violating public morality. But what does harmful actually mean? Without a clear definition, internet users can't predict whether their post will be seen as acceptable or if it will get them into trouble. When people are unsure about the rules, they often choose to stay silent. This is what's known as self-censorship. People stop sharing their opinions because they're afraid of being punished, even if they haven't actually broken a specific law. From a human rights perspective, this is a major issue. International standards state that any limit on speech must be clear, precise, and predictable. When laws are vague, they challenge the fundamental rights of everyone in the digital world. To understand how we got here, we need to look at the history. Before 2017, China used smaller, more fragmented rules for information security. In the early days, during the 1990s, the focus was on technology. This was the era of the Great Firewall. The government used technology to block foreign websites and stop certain information from entering the country. Back then, if you tried to click on a sensitive link, the connection just wouldn't work. But as social media exploded in the late 2000s, technology alone wasn't enough. Information was spreading too fast on platforms like Weibo. The government had to shift from a system of technical barriers to a system of formal laws. A major turning point came in 2013. The courts decided that a crime called picking quarrels and provoking trouble could now be applied to the internet. If a post the government deemed false was shared 500 times, the author could face criminal charges. This was the beginning of using elastic laws that can stretch and bend to control what people say online. In any modern legal system, legal certainty is a basic right. It means laws should be stable and everyone should be able to understand them. If a law uses a word like unpleasant without defining it, people won't know if their comments are legal. But in China, this vagueness appears to be a deliberate strategy for governance. When a law is treated like a flexible container, it can be expanded or shrunk to fit any situation. This gives the government what's called administrative discretion. It means the people enforcing the law, the police or platform moderators, effectively become the ones who define the law in the moment. They can tighten the red line during sensitive periods and relax it later. This makes the law feel less like a shield that protects citizens and more like a one-way tool for control. There is a significant gap between how China manages online speech and how international human rights law works. International law uses a three-part test for any restriction on speech: legality, legitimacy, and necessity. Legality means the law must be clear. Legitimacy means the goal must be specific and valid. and necessity means the punishment must be proportional to the goal. In China, the legality part is often missing because the legal language is so vague. Furthermore, there's a conflict between the concepts of universal rights and cyber sovereignty. International rights focus on the individual, but the Chinese model is state-centric. The government believes it has the absolute right to manage everything within its digital borders to protect national security. Also, if your post is deleted in China, you often have no way to appeal the decision in a transparent court, which is a stark contrast to global standards. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Our first case study is about critical speech. This involves people complaining about local government actions or questioning public decisions. These posts are vital for social monitoring and holding power accountable. However, authorities often frame this type of speech as inciting disorder. Because the law is so elastic, the boundary between a helpful critique and a punishable crime is completely unstable. Our second case is about sharing information during public incidents, like health emergencies or natural disasters. In these moments, people rush to share news to help others. But the government often uses labels like rumor or false information without explaining how they verify what's true or false. Speech is judged by its social effect rather than whether the person intended to lie. This creates a chilling effect where people become afraid to share even potentially life-saving information because they might be accused of spreading rumors. Even jokes and memes are not safe. This is our third case. Satire is often used to criticize things indirectly with a bit of humor. But because satire is complex, it's easily misunderstood by moderators who are trying to avoid any risk. Jokes can be reframed as insulting or disturbing public order. Automated filtering systems on social media platforms often delete these posts because they can't understand the context or nuance. This severely narrows the space for creativity and cultural expression online. In conclusion, freedom of speech is a fundamental human right, not a permission slip granted by a government. While Chinese law does mention this right, the reality is very different because of legal ambiguity. This uncertain environment makes it difficult for citizens to participate in public affairs. It doesn't just affect speech. It affects the right to know, the right to participate, and the right to seek justice. We believe that legal and institutional reforms are necessary. Laws need to be more precise. We need to clearly distinguish between direct incitement to violence and simple academic debate or opinion-based expression. The government should reduce its use of blanket language and introduce clearer definitions for prohibited content. Finally, future research should examine how these laws are actually applied in different regions and how they affect the younger generation. The goal of any law should be to ensure that rights are effectively implemented. Only by making the rules clear and fair can we truly protect human rights in the digital age.
That's all presentation of Group 4. We are really appreciate for your patience. Thanks for your watching.